If you don't rank these guys top 3, I mean, you have decided to selectively forget the entirety of the last year. This team has enough name and brand power behind it, and also will presumably put up significant enough results. I think that this GLoot event was way more interesting than the Smeag Cup. I'm gonna
Go
throw
ahead.
some spice in here real quick. When I said top 3, by the way, I didn't mean top 3 EMEA. I meant top 3 world.
The best thing that really sums up nonsense is a content creator tournament.
Yeah.
So let's take a look actually at the Smeag tournament we had with Baby, where obviously there were a good chunk of things to talk about, because not only did we have all those captains who did a quite good job, and then followingly, drafting teams, as we also have that shown in the graphic. It is kind of interesting because those participants right there, some of them at least, some of them, not all of them, also have a bit of to prove, right? They have something to prove here, Tanner, considering that some of them are not picked in next year's
Yeah.
VCT, not picked in next year's Ascendant. So it was somewhat of a proving ground, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot. I think a lot of it was a proving ground, but also like just kind of having fun in what is about to be probably the scariest year of a lot of these players' lives,
Mm.
because only a handful of players are playing at the highest level, and salaries from what you were before on TSM salary to what you might be now if you're TSM and challengers is gonna look a whole lot different. But I thought it was really cool. I think, I guess, for like proving yourselves as well. I saw a lot of cool tweets about how well the Game Changers players were doing. Sarah, Bunny B in there, Keensey.
Floor
Um,
popped the fuck off. Like
yeah, like that.
Fluorescent
That's
had
just
some
super cool.
she literally had lobbies where she outperformed Cryo, who was on the same team. Like, just let that sink in for a second. Some super young Game Changers player literally is like stat diffing Cryo. It wasn't consistent, but like the fact that that's even conceivably
hmm
possible, like if you're not excited about that, get the fuck out.
Hey, that's exactly the start I was looking for. Nothing else than exactly the start I was looking for. We can go a little further and take a look at things like winners and prizing as well. Because let's be real, right? This has been a decent tournament considering
hmm
prizing as well. It has been quite a banger, to be very honest. Obviously, when we take a look at the winners, banger team, I would say literally there, Tanner. Right? It's not a big
Is this the
surprise that this
Ascension
worked.
roster? Like,
I wouldn't be surprised actually, would he?
I mean, the team is that stacked. Like, you could have told me this was an Ascension team, and I'd be like, yeah, that checks out. It's a little bit weird that Tarek's playing, but sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would answer the questions, right, as to why Sentinels picked up Tarek. Was it just content creator, or was it just to kind of run amok in tournaments like this, or maybe Ascension coming up, and he's doing like the what is it, like the snipe down, playing for E United, but part of FaZe, Halo to Apex, like weird stuff like that. Maybe we get that out of Tarek, maybe we don't. But yeah, $50,000 for the prize pool. They got the McDonald's money. Like, this is sick, man. This is really cool. What I like is that orgs are putting it on.
Listen,
Um, Go ahead.
Tanner, you gotta get McDonald's money because some of those players will end up exactly there as a cashier,
I
right?
was
But
waiting
some
for
of
the
them
segue.
are winning, that kind of thing. It's cool though. It's cool though. I think production even told us there was PCs to give away
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yeah.
like
So
that. It's
I,
legit cool.
I think that that's super cool, and like honestly, Twitch rivals, like everyone that does these content creator tournaments, fucking steal their notes, like steal their homework. It's sick.
Mhm.
Instead of like bumping this prize pool by like 10, $25,000, whatever it is, the fact that they're like, okay, this is a content creator tournament. We're gonna give each of these creators something that gives back to their community. Like,
Yeah.
that is the sort of self-feeding loop that you want to create with these tournaments. It's so much more meaningful to have something like that than just like, oh, we've increased this arbitrary number that goes to the players by a little bit. Like, the
Right.
players are probably going to get more from giving away a PC to their
Yeah.
community and growing their audience than they ever would have from that extra $1,000. So like, I just
Right.
thought that that was a super cool idea.
It is a very, very cool idea. I think it's very nice because you have at least something to watch. You have your favorite streamers, your favorite content creator. It's better than nothing. And most definitely is
Mhm.
better than nothing. And talking about better than nothing, probably the excellence of Europe has finally found a home. Navi has released, and finally they have released this goddamn announcement that they actually have a team. Right after all this bamboozling and where they're going and are they going to an A, they have this beautiful trailer where you see good old Angel acting up like he doesn't know who to pick when the guy masterminded died first and already picked the 4 players in the rest of the round, basically. So I personally believe that the video is really well made. First of all, I love the sunflower collection that they have. But besides that, for me, Anders, one of the it's like a top 4 EU lineup, if not the scariest by far.
If you don't rank these guys top 3, I mean, you have decided to selectively forget the entirety of the last year. That's the only way to put
And the
it.
year
Like,
before, basically.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I just don't know how you can look at this team and not be excited about it. And for those looking at it, I mean, the only thing that is a little bit weird is like, oh, obviously Artist is out, CNET is in. People
Yeah.
have sort of looked at CNET as like maybe not necessarily having the craziest results over the past year, but when you look at him individually in a vacuum, that's just not an accurate qualification of his performance. He has continued to be fucking insane for the entire past year. So bringing him into this,
Mhm.
I imagine anyone with doubts are going to make a very abrupt about face as soon as they see him in a couple of games. Like it's going to be crazy. I'm
Right,
excited to
right.
watch, obviously.
And most importantly, right? Most importantly, there's one driving force always behind it, and that is Doomros. Doomros is coming back as well, Tanner. And I think this
Yep.
was one of the most important part. It doesn't surprise me, to be frank. It was quite a clear case for me. I don't know who else they would have picked besides him. But not only he has been picked, right? Most importantly, Latex has also been added to.
Sir.
So that
Fabric and
double,
OGs
I
coming
just
back together.
the man knows that you're trapped in a time capsule. But either way, it is actually quite cool because I think we had this conversation previously. This kind of support lineup existing now for the team of NaVi. Sure, Doombros was always there. Latex seems to be the perfect addition as well. This makes it extra double scary to me.
Yeah, so I like that. Again, obviously, there's a lot to be picked up from FPX with them not making it into the partnership program. So it just makes sense for Navi to kind of do away with what they had and grab something that is going to be the best thing possible. Sad, but that's just kind of the truth of what it is. I think it's really cool that in this partnership program, maybe because it works a little differently than actual franchising, that the organizations are saying, hey, we're getting paid to be here, and they're
Yeah,
giving that like extra bit of freedom towards their players and their coaching staff to say like, you guys are, boots on the ground. How do we make this work, right? What is going to work best? Like, you guys let me know, and we will fund that. So to
yeah,
to have that flexibility to bring in a coach that you're comfortable to have, to grab a player like CNET, who is probably going to be a pretty costly player, but when you look at the FPX roster, like you guys said, you got to put it up there top 3. And CNET only bolsters that number to maybe top 2, top 1. So I think it's
I
really cool
agreed.
just to see like how cool organizations are being about just being like, hey guys, kind of creative freedom. Let's make the best.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
I'm gonna
go
throw
ahead.
some spice in here real quick, just because it's
Yeah,
relevant. When I said top 3, by the way, I didn't mean top 3 EMEA. I meant top 3 world.
yeah, yeah.
So
No, no,
there's
I
that
agree.
I
tidbit
agree.
for you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. To just add that one thing, and the only interesting aspect regarding CNET is that he now plays in a team that is totally different structure than Ascend was, right? With a super dedicated IGL in comparison. So I'm looking forward to how that will pan out and how that will work with him. And how it might make him even flourish playing under an IGL like Angel. It's kind of curious, right? Because under the Bone Cold times he was looking quite good, and the team was going a little bit of a different direction. It didn't work that well, but you know what? It is going to be that kind of exciting upcoming times where I expect the best to happen with this team. And talking about the best to happen, the worst to happen within the entirety of EMEA was G2. Not literally because it is G2. They were fun at times, but they absolutely crumbled, fumbled the bag, fell down the cliff, whatever kind of thing you want to use regarding that. And now there has been this rumor started. And this big rumor is that they might return to EME. And sorry, not EMEA. Of course, not EMEA. Why would they go EMEA? To North America, right? And get themselves actually a coach with the name called Anderzz. And this is obviously where nobody else, and I'm going to ask you, is what are your thoughts in building a team regarding EME on making that work?
I think that there was basically one of two ways to go. And if I was G2 and I was coming to North America, there's two ways that I would have tackled it. I would have immediately sniped MCE and the guard roster. If
Mm-hmm.
it looked like that organization was trying to exit, it doesn't look like they're trying to exit, so that was probably off the table, and MCE obviously got sniped by C9. The other thing is to start going down the list. Okay, what are the other teams that
Mm-hmm.
have really promising, well-structured rosters that I think are going to be able to punch through and be genuine contenders for Ascension, like winning Ascension, not just competing well in it.
Yeah.
And I think that you're basically left with two scenarios where you either go for FaZe or you go for the old V1 core. And I think that them picking up Emmy was a very strong indication that they're going for the latter. I wholly expect there to be like Whippy, Penny, like that whole core is going to be joining Emmy in the short term. I would pretty much guarantee it.
Yep. Tyler? Anything from your side?
Yeah,
Anything
I quickly, I'll say, Anders kind of hit it right there. He stole it from me. That it just means that Penny's gonna have a home, and Penny is, I mean, Penny's fucking insane. Penny's fucking insane. He's also one of those duelists that doesn't just like play the jet and then also can only play the chamber. Like he can actually play Raze too, which a lot of duelists can't do. So you don't have to have a flex player that fills that role. So I'm happy that it means that Penny's probably finding a home.
Yeah.
Imagine a duelist who can be a duelist.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Make sure to subscribe to Valoranting because they ask some pretty good questions, so you don't want to miss out on the answers.
I'm not even gonna comment what our next talking point is.
Oh no!
Just run the clip. Just
We're already at it. Oh fuck!
Run the clip. Run the clip. Come on.
Is it just me, or do I think, like, generally speaking, Overwatch players are just more hardworking than on average?
Yeah, 100%. Like, without a doubt. There's another thing I love about Overwatch is that the players work extremely hard. Like, I think people don't know this about our Overwatch team, but we started scrimming in November of last year on a custom workshop that I spent like probably 100 hours coding that I think almost every team in the league ended up using at that time. But we started scrimming 3 blocks a day, 6 days a week, plus reviews until midnight for the first like 6 months of the workshop in Overwatch 2, right? So into like maybe like June or just before that. The idea of Valorant players working that hard is insanity. Like they would never accept that. That's just not a part of that culture, right? And I think that's true for a lot of esports, right? I think a big part of it is the Korean influence. Like I think Overwatch is one of the only games where we have Koreans working alongside Westerners on almost every team.
Just go ahead.
Bruh.
I'm not even gonna say something.
Bruh. Like, I mean, the only part of that I agree with is his last part of the statement, which is that it's the fact that that is as prolific as it is a direct repercussion of like the Korean cultural influence in the scene as a whole. For him to say it's insanity that Valorant players would practice that hard, motherfucker, my tier 2 team was doing that. We weren't even fucking signed and we were practicing that schedule. So there are Valorant players who do that. Any top team is going to do that or more. Fnatic was doing that. B1 was doing that. BX was doing that. Fucking Virtuoso was doing that when I was coaching on them. If you think that Valorant teams don't work that hard, you literally just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm sorry. And I guarantee you that if there was more widespread Korean cultural influence, it would be just as much or more than Overwatch League. If you go and look at any of the Korean teams, I guarantee you that there's a work ethic directly analogous to Overwatch League. If you want to say that maybe on average, like in mass aggregate, if you want to pull in like North American tier 3 teams, then yeah, maybe you have a case. But that is a maybe. If you want to compare Overwatch League to Valorant and stratify it to only the top cream of the crop, there's no fucking chance that that statement's true. I'm just going to be blunt. There is no shot in hell.
Would agree. Absolutely, Tanner. I agree. I absolutely agree with it.
I will say that I think what we've seen in Valorant is orgs like really jumping and kind of biting at the bit as soon as they could, and the salaries are like pretty, I guess inflated might not be the right word, but they seem relatively inflated for a game that's been around for I think just under 2 years now, maybe just cresting that 2-year mark, like adding beta and stuff. Yeah. And so if, I think if there is a problem with work ethic, I'm not saying that there is because I don't actually know. I'm not sitting in practice like Anderzz is. I think it was kind of a baby. Like the players are babied a little bit. They, EA can say, hey, I only have to work this hard to make 40,000 a month. Like, okay, why would I, okay, that's totally fine, right? There's not like that seems pretty ceiling to me right off the rip. Whereas somebody who is always shooting to be more and shooting to be the best, and I guess isn't necessarily or is like looking to just grow in terms of being a star player like the Tens, like the EA. I don't know if there's a whole lot of like driving force behind it when you're already sitting cool on the team, you're doing just enough to stay on the team, nobody's taking your spot, and you're making $40,000 a month. Like I think the organization's kind of allowed for a lack of work ethic if there is one.
Yeah, no. So I think what you're saying is partially true, but I think Anderzz summed it up quite well. This is not a status quo anymore. You cannot develop. You cannot be the best in EMEA or the best in NA or the best in the world with exactly that work ethic, and that is just not the case. 100% not the case. So you said very well. Go ahead.
It just feels like such a fucking dated take. Like, when was the last time he actually interacted with the Valorant scene? He was in North. He was in North America exclusively. Before the scene had developed basically at all. I think that honestly, this take just comes from like I haven't seen anything of what's going on in the better part of 2 years.
Right.
That's the only way he could come to the conclusion that he's come
Yeah.
to.
Hey, listen.
Hold on. Do you think that having 6 heroes versus 5 agents, they are working harder?
Are we pivoting this to an argument about Valorant versus Overwatch?
I'm just saying.
What is this bait?
I'm in the corner of there could quite possibly be a discrepancy with how much Valorant players actually practice and Overwatch players doing it more. Is 6 more? 6 is more than 5. Does that mean more practice time?
No, it doesn't. I used to coach Overwatch in collegiate. Like I've blocked out practices before. We made playoffs every single season I coached it. I wasn't fucking around, so.
There we go. I hope you have your answer. You know what? But I have something new. We're talking about an A pretty much all day beside the NaVi point. So you know what? Stewie might just join. We have this SOT of him potentially joining Valorant, and that will follow up with a great roster rumor. So let's take a look at what Stewie says about his good old grind.
I'll be on. Every day I'll be on the stream. I'll be grinding ranked. I'm gonna try to get into scrims. And then LCQ will happen. Champions will happen. Off-season comes. Franchising comes. Even if I miss franchising, I'm down to keep streaming. You want to double watch and be the student of the game and then get picked up, yeah? Oh yeah, you do. But we'll try. We'll see how everything plans out.
The good old grind set.
It's a great
old grind set. Just basically like he played rank G and rank S back in the day, right? And then actually has developed a quite decent career. Talking about it, this is followed up by a decent rumor of a team that looks quite all right, if you ask me. And you talked about earlier, Anderzz, about teams, being potentially there to be, in the Smeag Tournament to be actually ascendant kind of teams. This one looks actually quite dangerous on paper.
This roster, when I look at it, the first thing that comes to mind is I don't think that they probably have an org behind them. I think that this is a lot of interpersonal relationships coming to fruition in a team that looks pretty terrifying. That said, this is the type of team that I think comes into Ascension, probably plays for a month, and then gets signed.
Yeah,
not necessarily by a huge juggernaut organization, but this team has enough name and brand power behind it, and also will presumably put up significant enough results that I can't imagine that it's not going to be shortlisted for any org that's trying to enter.
So for an org trying to enter, right? Yes. What do we think that looks like? Do you think that Stewie2K and Tex and Raucus are going to be like, yeah, Beast Coast, that would be cool. I'm about it, because it's also it's not a risk that FlyQuest can take, who I think there have been rumors that FlyQuest wants to get into Valorant. They can't risk just being like, hey, we're going to sign this Stewie2K roster because it's got a lot of clout, and then not actually qualifying for that, for the partnership program through the Ascension tournament. So what type of org grabs a team like this? Although I do think it's a good team, I don't know if this is a winning team.
All right. Do I dare go down this rabbit hole and just be brutally honest about how I look at Ascension or not?
Yes, within the time span of 125 seconds.
So
because
here's the problem with Ascension. You're gonna have 3 organizations come in who are gonna literally throw multi-million-dollar teams on the table. You are not gonna fucking beat them. I look at FlyQuest. I'm sorry, you're not gonna win Ascension the first year. It's not gonna fucking happen. So if you're going to be intelligent about the way you buy into this circuit, you're either going to wait a year until someone like G2 already promotes out, or you're going to buy a team that's primarily clout focused and you start building your brand in the scene. For that purpose, this team is exactly what you're looking for. Boom. Time.
Hey, that was actually half the time. Respect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that. It looks exactly like it could be a proper team, but I think it takes time. I'm just afraid that they're going to disband. And talking about disbanding, right, and roster changes, let's take a look at what NRG has done, because they have added good old Chet. Yes, you heard me right. Another coach
Who
joining
could have seen
another
this coming?
proper. No, nobody. I didn't see it coming. What is NA? But either way, it is actually a proper, decent choice. That org is basically absolutely teamless at the point, and recently also obviously got themselves hazed out of the roster. Only Som is remaining. Good old Som from 2020. So this brings us to the point where I believe is if there's a man who once more can build a roster that can be world class, hey, who else are you going to pick, Tanner, than Chet himself?
And Chet himself, yeah, absolutely. After showing, I guess, what Chet has done in the scene for a long time, I feel returning to NRG They already understand like his work ethic, some of the players. I think he's also, wasn't it rumored that he's bringing some Optic players as well? I think Crashes and Victors are maybe swinging that way with FNS. So I think this is really scary when we talk about teams in North America who are at the top and you know, top 3 like we did FPX, now NaVi. You have to put the roster that Chet is going to be on probably up in that, especially just the influence that he has as a coach. Players want to play for him, and organizations want to work for him. So I think this is really cool that Chet's back to NRG. It was just a matter of time. I think it was rumored for a long time. This would have been Vanzilli's favorite episode because we don't have to speculate on all this stuff anymore, and he's missing it. But yeah, I do love this for NRG and Chet.
Seems like Anderzz doesn't even have anything to add. I couldn't be more happy.
I mean, there's nothing left to go off of with that. Like, okay, we've got Chet. What's the rest of the roster? Because we assume that the rest of the Optic core is going to follow him. But like, we knew that he was going to NRG. This has been like one of the most solid rumors for like X number of months.
Yeah.
We assume that he's going to have maybe one piece of support staff behind him. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Jovi follow up here really soon. But like, I mean, yeah, Chet went to NRG. What else is what else is there to add? Like, until I think that there's a little bit of question marks around what the rest of the team looks like. Like, I know that people are like, okay, you're bringing Optic core, you're potentially keeping Som main roster, but like, what are we really gonna be?
Yeah.
Like, what's the excitement factor that we're waiting to hear about?
This is the first edition. Anderzz, we talked about it on the show. NRG have signed Chet, and now they're starting to welcome in their players. And the first of the 5 or 6 is FNS.
Stunning, absolutely mind blowing. Who could have possibly seen this coming? Like, we know that the old Optic core is coming, so it's nice to make it official. It gives that team an incredible foundation with both Chet and FNS, who have a history of literally winning international trophies. So.
Yep.
There's a man who's an elaborated, knowledgeable Game Changers fan. And therefore, you had great news. You can tell me whatever you want, Tanner, but you had amazing news for North America. Because there has been a particular organization who took over that part regarding Game Changers. Let's take a look at that news that we have, because that is particularly important and particularly interesting. Because to be honest, it is great that you at A get news very early on. You know, you get news early on. You find out things very early on. Who's playing next year? Who's doing? I mean, EMEA chilling like, who's their Game Changers next year? What are we going to do? So let's take a look at the news. It's a lot of pages. It's a lot of stuff to read. We're not going to read it all. Obviously not. And as we're going through it, there you go. NA Valorant is going to be support through Knights Arena, who are not, launching a team anymore, which is fair because, that could be biased. But I think this is exactly what basically NA needs in a supportive aspect here, Tanner.
100%. And this man, I love Knights so much. I love the entire team over there. We've had Garrett on the show before, and I got a chance to speak to them in Philly. Well, they were out there in Philly for the Nerd Street stuff. This is so cool for Knights. This is a child like reaching their dream that they've set for themselves, or like reaching a goal they set for themselves, but in organization form, right? This entire org has been working so hard. We all love the night stuff that gets put on, between the Sakura Cups to the weeklies, the gauntlets.
Yeah.
They're doing their own things and trying to like implement agent bans, which I think is a little soon for that. I think we need to see a few more agents before that really kind of settles in. But Knights are looking to do it. And so it's really cool to see this finally pay off, because it was a head-to-head between Knights and Nerd Street, and Knights is starting to come out on top. And I think in what they were doing and having Garrett on the show saying, like, we wanted to put on for the community. Like, it's not about the money. It's not about, like, obviously being in the partnership program would be cool, but their thought into getting partnership program and just what they want to do for Valorant and other games was, we want to put on events. We want to get the community together. And now they get to do that on such a larger scale for challengers, for Game Changers. This is really cool for Knights, man. I love those guys over there. Shout out Jasper. Shout out Flippy. Yeah, I was very, very excited to see this. This is like a dream come true again. All their work really peaking.
And it feels a lot to me, Anderzz, that considering particularly that, we in Europe have all those regional leagues, right? We have all those VRCs as well. It seems like this is exactly the step that somehow is needed, because NA is basically, always stranded with VCT. And Mickey Mouse tournaments, as they always say, right? It feels like it's exactly the right support layer to get all those tier 2 teams or whatever into the right space.
It's a little bit of an interesting dynamic because I feel like a lot of what's happening here is almost like a changing of the guard. They're like sort of handing the banner down the line, because I think what's going to happen here is that you're going to see NSG sort of get rolled up into running the America's like international league, and then they're bringing in Knights as an organization that's proven itself on sort of, for lack of a better word, that Mickey Mouse circuit. They've proven that they can organize and run really spectacular events. And so as NSG sort of ascends to taking care of that higher tier, Knights is now just sort of taking over the circuit below it after proving that they've got the things to make it happen.
No, I think this is Hey, listen, I'm just putting it out there. I think we gotta we gotta pour some out. We gotta pour some out for the homies of Nerd Street. I don't think Nerd Street has a hand in this anymore. I think this is
really
Riot saying, yeah.
So
I think
this is sort of like the big question. Is like, I saw a lot of people being like, "R.I.P. Nerd Street." I can pour one out for your boys, but
yeah,
is that really what's happening? Did NSG just like actually just get dropkicked?
I'm under the impression that what Riot is going to do is handle the premier stuff themselves, just like they do League of Legends, just like they did for main event all of 2022, right? Once we got to main event, that was like Riot having a hand in all of that, and then obviously the major events. I am of the opinion that Nerd Street is dead and gone, and Knights is now the knight in shining armor who
here is if that is the case, here is my argument as to why I think that that's actually a reasonable decision from Riot's perspective, and it actually goes back to one of the points, Tanner, that you made that almost felt a little bit like a strike against them. So Knights has already implemented agent bans, and you're saying, okay, yeah, I think it's too early for that. I don't necessarily disagree. I think that, like, numbers wise, I think that bans would work if we wanted to implement them. But that's beside the point. I think what's important to recognize is the fact that Knights isn't going out and saying, okay, all of our events have agent bans. What they're saying is, we're going to start testing this. We're going to start writing the rule book, because we know that this is probably going to be necessary eventually. So we want to know how the hell to run an event with it when the time comes. They're taking initiative that shows that they are going to be a long-term TO that provides a shitload of value to the ecosystem, because they are writing the book ahead of time.
Right. You know what? We're going to find out. I'm really happy that an A now has a support circuit. As much as I make fun of them, I appreciate it. I think it's good. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to have. And you know what? Going away from North America, time to go back to EU. And this is where I bring you some fresh GLoot stuff. Why is it relevant and why not? Listen. So this is kind of relevant and not really relevant. It is sort of relevant, but I tell you why it is relevant. So let's take a look. You know, Bonk won the recent wildcard qualifier. That's nice. We're gonna roll that. But besides that, right? This is how it looked like. Okay, so Bonk won. Bonk is actually, obviously you know Bonk. Bonk are obviously once more coming in with another team for some reason, with another wild team, where they even got themselves Eng as their coach, which is mental if you ask me. But either way, this lineup right now has one interesting aspect, that is obviously Bonkar, and that is as well as Eng. But the tournament itself, and here we go. The tournament itself is interesting. Because once this B-roll runs, right, you see November 25th, 27th, actually nice tournament, show the invited teams, but the invited teams, gentlemen, that is interesting. And you know why? Those are 6 VCT level teams. And you know what? Who of them doesn't have a full roster? 5 out of 6.
Yep.
There we go. It's going to be the best. This is going to be most interesting tournament by a freaking mile, because you simply have a quite interesting idea of now, okay, is BBL sticking to the roster? Yes, they do. Is FaZe sticking to the roster? Yes, they do. Okay, Navi, we have them, but Vitality, not complete. Heretics, not complete. Giants, not complete. So it's time to fill up your roster slots, because otherwise, are you going to play with your old players that you bench and that are restricted free agents, or what are they going to do about it?
Navi's about to come in and dropkick everyone.
Navi is
actually going to be toxic.
No, it totally is. The only thing I'm most curious about is Vitality, because Vitality is still on my list to be like the potentially best team in VCT EMEA behind Navi.
That's
I think
I think
that
they'll be really high up. I think that people are underrating them pretty egregiously.
Yes.
I'm gonna say though, just because I want to get my incendiary take out there because it's
Go
funny
ahead.
as fuck.
Okay.
I actually this is me calling out all of the clout chasers and people who just like clickbait. I think that this GLoot event was way more interesting than the Smeag Cup.
Yeah.
In terms of like gameplay and like overall
Yeah,
intrigue,
yeah.
like I would have rather watched I would rather allocate my time to watching this event than watching Smeag Cup. A lot
Fair
of like
play.
high clout players is super interesting, but looking at rosters like Bonk, like who doesn't want to watch the Bonkar and Dream Machine like strategy engine like showing their first
Yeah.
go at things? Like I don't know.
It's wild. I find it really, really, really wild. Tanner, any final thoughts on our B block here? Give me something if you want to.
So basically, what we're
Yeah.
saying is that GLoot and Smeag Cup essentially the same.
No.
Ultimately, one is a
No.
little bit more interesting to watch. I'll be the P brain on the other side that says,
Oh, fuck off. Oh,
wait,
fuck
what is
off.
this? Hold on, Mac D's
Go
getting deep
fuck
in it.
yourself.
Pig
Why
out on this
am-
official McDonald's gaming chair with a fry holder and burger warmer. Get this off
Thank
my
you,
screen.
Smeag Cup. Thank you, FaZe Clan. Without them, this would not be possible. Thank you.
Fucking hell.
Why
Get me
why
out.
was it? Okay, you know what? I was trying to listen to Tanner. I'm not
What
gonna
is a
listen to
burger warmer? Genuinely, what even is that?
I
Do
don't
we
want
have,
to go there. I don't even want to go there.
You have to
I don't
plug
wanna
your
go
chair
there.
in. That chair has to be plugged in to the wall to have the burger warmer.
before it
Yeah.
bursts into flames because you have like
Yeah.
a warming oven built into your armrest or something.
Sounds absolutely healthy to me. Sounds
Yeah.
really, really good. Either way, you know what? It is time to take a look at our rapid fire. Yes, you heard me right, rapid fire. I'm going to guide you through this. What has happened? What is actually not worth us discussing about it, but still has happened? Okay, let's start. First one. Riot listens. And I personally am not the... Hold on. Yes, not a big fan of the newest patch. So what they have done is said, you know what? This one-click kind of access menus that we have, we put them back in. And that is important. I think it's cool that they actually upgrade the UI, quickly change of what has not been going so great, and make it work. Good. That one out of the way. No surprise, actually. FPX says goodbye to their team because obviously, you know, they have been signed by NaVi now. Who could have guessed? I don't know if FPX is now going to stick to the Chinese circuit or not. And then also we have the news about Ghost. Want to take a look at that? There we go. It seems like there might be something happening. You know, everyone is posting this like, you know what, the marathon continues. We have been signed. Da 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 da. The classic meme-a-thon, basically. And here comes the most interesting part from this rapid fire. There is a tournament in Japan that features, I think, Zeta Division, DRX, Fnatic, and this just on Christmas Day. I mean, 24th of December is for most nations somehow not Christmas. For me, it is Christmas. Okay, I don't care what you guys are saying. You know, you guys celebrate on.
Well, we have to wait for Santa Claus to finish with you guys to get to us.
Yeah.
So we're
Right.
a day late.
It's a big planet to cover.
Yeah.